What's up, guys? All right, so tonight I have a couple of announcements to go through, and then after that, we're going to be talking through the topic. I actually have quite a few notes on the topic tonight, so it might take a little bit to get through, but it's a lot of really good points. So I'm excited to go through it with you guys. But as far as the announcements first, so all of the assessments for the week are complete. So go ahead and keep on turning these in between challenges. It's going to help keep us on track throughout the month. The next challenge is likely to start that first week of October, but nothing's ever set in stone until until it's announced. So you can plan on that first week of October. But with all of that, you guys, just keep on staying on track as much as you can. We're calling it the September grind because it is a hard month. It's that like between time, between challenges, like life is chaotic. I'm not expecting you guys to be perfect, right? I'm not expecting you guys to turn in perfect assessments, perfect food logs, all the things. But the more often that we do stay on, the better you are going to do, the better you're going to find yourself when you are getting started in October, when we're going through November, when we're going through December, and then suddenly it's going to be 2024, which is absolute insanity. So keep turning stuff in. Another thing that I did want to announce, which is super crazy. I was talking to my resilient coaching people this week. Our last call is next week already. It's already been 12 weeks, which like tears. I've been having so much fun talking to these people. The results have been so amazing for each individual, like watching everybody grow on an individual basis, whether it be physical, emotional, mentality wise. People are making drastic changes in their lives, which is so cool. But with all that being said, like amazing things do come to a stopping point. So my last call with them is next week, and that means that my resilient one-on-one coaching plan is opening back up to a certain number of new spots starting on Monday. So if that is something that does interest you, the next session of people will run for another 12-week session that will start September 25th. So sometime that week will be your first meeting, and we'll go through December 11th. So you will be ready to rock and roll. We'll go through Thanksgiving. We'll get you set up for, Christmas time. We'll get through that very beginning part of December. You're going to be starting 2024 like a whole new you, which is so cool. So the details of the resilient coaching plan, if you're newer here, or if it's something that you kind of heard in the past but you didn't really have interest in before, it's $799, but it's going to cover the first or the whole 12 weeks. So it's a one-time payment for the whole thing. And then I do believe if you go through PayPal, you can do multiple payments if you so choose, and that kind of thing too. So with that being said, what you get, that initial call on the 25th or that week of the 25th will be 45 minutes long or so. We'll talk one-on-one video call, whether that be FaceTime or Zoom or what have you. We'll set everything up specific to the goals, whatever those goals are. And then each week after that, instead of doing an assessment through the app, you would turn in an assessment, and we'll have a one-on-one call via FaceTime or Zoom for about 20 minutes each week, go through all of the things that you're struggling with, what you're winning on, what we can tweak and alter, things we need to plan for, things that we could do better, things that we need to kind of remove. It's been really cool to go through this with you guys because I've seen people really grow and change mentality wise, where they're leaving their jobs that have been toxic and taking new positions in their lives. And I've seen other people drop dress sizes for their kids' weddings. And I've seen other people, find confidence in their marriages to have conversations that were really difficult before. Just really, really cool things are coming about from this one-on-one coaching opportunity. So if it's things that do, inspire you, things that you are wanting to work on, you really want to take on this next challenge and really start 2024 with a bang because you're ending 2023 with a bang, then absolutely reach out. I'll get you that link starting on Monday. As far as other things, there are new surprises, new drops, new things coming out on all October 1st, November 1st, and December 1st to help you all follow along, and then beyond from there. So new things coming your way, which I'm excited to share with you on those dates. Qualifiers to come to the St. Louis trip after this most recent challenge will receive their official invite email soon. So there's only one challenge left for the year to qualify for that trip to come to St. Louis, which is in January. So basically what you would need to do if you're newer here listening to this, or you haven't completed a challenge yet this year, you need to complete the next challenge starting in October, ending probably sometime around the end of November, beginning of December. And that would be the beginning pictures and the ending pictures at a minimum. that will qualify you to come to the trip. You pay for your way to get there and for the hotel stay, which I have a hotel block. But aside from that, everything else is pretty much covered, because the meals are, you know, kind of all covered in there unless you want some extra snacks and stuff. And then we go work out at HQ and we hang out and we do all the things. So would love to have you all there. It's going to be a lot of fun. I did decide on our invest in yourself topics today for next month, which I am actually quite excited about. So our October invest in yourself coaching topics, which is our small group coaching. The first one is going to be hugging someone. It's actually been shown to improve safety signals in our bodies and in our minds. So every day is going to be hug a pet, hug a family member, hug a friend, something like that, some sort of physical connection. Week 2 is going to be shake your body out once a day, which I know is going to look really crazy. You're going to be like crazy like that, but it's been shown, once again, that when we shake our body out like that, that we're kind of relieving that stress. It's sending like that safety signal. Once again, we're kind of really going over like sending your body reduced stress signals, that we are safe signals, that we can lower cortisol signals. Nutrition is going to be eating something bitter. That also is another safety signal I did not know about, which I thought was super cool. And then the last one is going to be all about adult coloring time. So we're going to get our coloring on to help ease our minds. And every time I do this, because Jenna sent me a coloring book that has all kinds of very colorful words a couple years ago, and I love using it every single time I sit down and do it. Shay's like, let's color together. And she looks at mine. I'm like, don't read mommy's. And it says all the bad things, but I highly recommend it. It's going to be so fun. So that's going to be our October ones. And obviously I'll provide all kinds of details and things on that when we go through those calls next month, but excited about those with you guys. Another thing, pumpkin spice level 1 and bars are back for the limited time. If you guys missed that or you were thinking about grabbing it, they're still in stock for now, but I have a ton of recipes, both on IG recently. There's a ton on there that I've put out a few. There's also a ton with 1st Phorm people. I also have a ton in the Facebook group itself from years past using pumpkin spice latte. So if you love pumpkin type flavored things, then this is going to be a perfect opportunity to utilize it in different recipes, but it is available right now if you want to get your hands on it. Wanted to give a huge shout out. I don't even know if she's on here. She's not, but Jamie Ludwigson, one of our coaches, earned her NASM certification this week. She didn't even tell us that she was taking the exam because that's how she is. But she did pass. So all 3 of the coaches in the app that are working with you guys, myself, Jenna, and Jamie, were all NASM certified. So we are ready to help you guys with whatever you need, just like we have been. But she is officially ready to go. Jenna was ready to go earlier this summer, and I took mine 2 summers ago now, I think. So yeah, it's been really cool. So I'm excited to have that extra qualification for you guys. Let's see. Don't forget to complete the September grind habits and submit on Mondays now. If you have any questions about how to do that, about those new habits or anything like that, let me know. I will post the habit board again every Sunday like I have been, but it's going to be the same habits every single week, all of September for the grind. Aside from that, please keep sharing about the app, the group, the challenge, recipes, even more, whatever you see fit. If you have a recipe that you found in the group and you love it, share about it, post it. If you love one of the workouts, share about it, post it. If you love a recipe that you made in the app, share about it, post it, right? All the things that you are finding helpful and beneficial, please share about it and just tag me in it. That's so incredibly helpful. And then obviously, please keep on sending over those 1P order numbers. Those are always extremely, extremely helpful. So as far as tonight's topic goes, so I got a request for this topic, and it makes sense because I talk about this all the time, but I do realize that it can be misconstrued or actually quite confusing due to media and looking at social media and news outlets, and grocery stores are just super confusing. So tonight's topic is all about what is clean eating, like what actually is cleaning up your diet. What does that mean? So basically, what I want to go through first is minimally processed food. When I say that, what I mean is no fast food, right? We are not going through the Subway line. We're not going through the McDonald's line. We're not going to the sandwich shop. We're not going to Panera, right? Like, even if it's clean restaurants, even if it's cleaner type fast foods, healthier type ingredients, those are going to be better options if you do need to eat on the run. But if you can minimize your eating out, dining out, that's going to be beneficial. Either way, no matter what, whenever we're dining out, it is very, very much harder to control what you're putting in your body. So try your best not to eat fast food. Try not to eat takeout near as often. It's going to still happen, right? I still go out to eat with my family, right? We still randomly stop at like Subways and stuff here and there, but trying to minimize it is going to be extremely beneficial. Um, and then no packaged foods or boxed foods, right? Now, when I say that, like, we're going to minimize them. So if the ingredient label has technically like more than 8 ingredients on it, and if you can't pronounce them, that's probably a highly processed food, right? So there's going to be some exceptions to the rule, but try and minimize those foods, right? Do your best to find labels that have like 5, 6, 7, 8 ingredients or less, right? It's like great when you pick up a sweet potato and that ingredient is sweet potato. That makes it very simple, right? But not everybody can always just eat out of the produce section and the meat counter. I get that. So we're going to be eating out of some packages, but we're going to try and minimize those packages. That's what I want you guys looking at, is looking at more than just the macro label. And we're going to be really looking at that ingredient list. So once again, like 5 to 8 ingredients at most on that ingredient label, where it's like listing the ingredients inside of that package. And if you can't pronounce most of those foods, or you don't know where they came from, what they are, probably not your best option. Okay. So then, from there, whole food. A lot of people got confused whenever I would say, like, we're going to focus primarily on whole foods. It's basically the opposite of processed foods. But when I say that, and I was guilty of this as well, I thought when my original coach said I needed to eat whole foods, I needed to go grocery shopping at Whole Foods, the grocery store. That is not the case. You don't have to do that. That's okay. You can get this from Aldi's. You can get this from Walmart. You can get it from wherever you want to get it from. You can get it from the farmer's market, even better. But with that being said, we are going to try and get foods that have come from something that grew out of the earth, right? So off of a tree, off of a bush, out of the ground, or it was walking around or swimming around or flying around. That is going to be our primary goals here. So looking for foods that still hold their natural shape and color is a really good way to look at that. So, for instance, like potatoes instead of potato chips, right? Still a similar type of option. Potato chips, much more processed, don't look anything like a potato. I don't care what you say. Does not look like a potato, but you get a potato, you can slice that sucker yourself, and you can be in control of what you put on it and how you make it, right? So try and find ingredients that look and still have the shape of how they naturally occurred. Okay. So thinking produce, meat, eggs, some dairies, right? Some of the dairy section can get a little out of hand, but some dairies, basic dairies, are going to be okay. Plain and frozen produce, right? So if you can go into the frozen food section, that's fine, but do your best not to get the vegetables that are covered in all of the sauces. Do your best to get the fruits that are not added sugars and the extra juices and stuff, just plain frozen. What do we got in here? We've got all kinds of things in here. So if you can grow it or kill it, yes, that is absolutely correct, Jody. You've got it. Love homemade French fries. That sounds delicious. And scored Siete chips at Costco. Yes, I love Siete chips. Those are so stinking delicious. The cinnamon ones dipped in some Greek yogurt. Hella good. Okay, so moving on from there. Ingredient labels. We're going back to ingredient labels. Look at more than just the macros and calories. When I first got started, right, and we learn as we go. So I will always teach you as I learn more. Good for you. I like to read a lot. So here we go. I used to think if it fits your macros, and that's how I would live life. And that is how I taught everyone, right? Because that's what I knew. That's what I understood. I have since learned more. What happens when you do your lifestyle is if it fits your macros. So meaning if you can make the Oreos fit, you eat the Oreos on occasion, sure, but let's not try and make Oreos fit as much as possible. We need to try and be minimizing that kind of stuff. Instead, look at the actual ingredient list like we were talking about earlier. Try and avoid things that have excess corn syrups in them. Try and avoid extra seed oils like canola oils, sunflower oils, those vegetable oils. Vegetable oils are not made from vegetables, by the way. Do not do that. That is terrible for you. Do your best to avoid those. Try to avoid artificial sweeteners if at all possible. Oftentimes the marketing is so confusing, you guys, and that's why I'm here to help like do it all wrong first so that I can teach you how to do it correctly. Sugar-free, I used to do all the sugar-free stuff and it did not go well. It really wreaked havoc on me. So if you do sugar-free things on the regular, like daily, throughout the day, all the things, then it's almost always packed with fake sugars and sweeteners, which is actually even harder on your body than regular sugar is. So it's actually been shown that the artificial sweeteners are even sweeter on like a scale of sweetness than actual table sugar. And when that happens, your body craves it even more so, and it does more damage in your gut than what regular sugar does. So nix those like sugar-free things as much as you can. Try and aim for the whole foods, right? I actually higher fat dairies have been shown to have better effects on hormone production and weight loss in women, in men as well, but well, we're mostly women here. So really focus in on those things. Don't be afraid to have the 2%. Right? Don't be afraid to have some of the 4%. It's okay. Make it work into your day, but that's going to have a lot less of that excess junk in there. Look at fiber content, you guys. Here's something else that like they do in marketing, which is so insane and crazy, and why we have addiction to food and why we're never full, why we're never satiated, and why most of America is overweight. So what they've done is they've taken whole foods and they have stripped them away during processing and they've removed the fiber content. Reasons for this: the texture becomes more palatable. Fiber is not exactly the most enjoyable thing to go gnaw on, right? That's kind of how it is. But when it's part of the foods that you're already eating, it's naturally supposed to be in there. So that's why it works. Fiber does a lot of different jobs, like helping with digestion, helping with keeping you fuller longer, helping with controlling blood sugar levels, helps with cholesterol levels, all kinds of things. Well, here's what happens when they go through and they process all of these foods and they make them into like these highly palatable foods. What happens then is your body is going to crave them more and you're not going to fill up on them, and you're going to have higher appetite cravings and bigger crashes, and therefore even worse like binge sessions on these things, because when that fiber content isn't there, then you don't get full. Your blood sugar spikes and crashes. You get bigger cravings. You get bigger brain fog. You have bigger digestion issues. Cholesterol gets out of hand. All the things start to go wrong when we have a ton of foods that don't have fibers in them. Let's just be honest, like you're not going to find fiber in like eggs. Okay, so fiber is not in all whole foods, but when we're looking at fruits, vegetables, beans, legumes, that kind of thing, there is a lot higher natural fiber content in those whole food pieces. So look at that label. What does that fiber content say? If it is up there, right? If it's, when I say up there, it depends on the food and depends on the serving size. But honestly, if it has carbs in it and it's bouting about being a vegetable-based or a fruit-based option, if that fiber says 0 or 1, it's probably pretty processed, right? We need to be making sure that they're not removing all of that fiber from there for us, because then that's going to be something that we're going to end up just shooting ourselves up just to fall back down. And that's only going to be harder on our cortisol, harder on everything. So that's what that is. Something that I thought was super interesting. So I was listening to, as I've heard me talk about Max Lugavere before. He runs a podcast called Genius Foods, and he's got a couple of books, and I love his books as well. But he had a episode 311, Dr. Sarah Berry on there. I believe it was from back in April. But I was listening to it, and she talks a lot about some research that she's personally done, as well as some other research that she's read up on from different studies, all about food matrices. And I thought this, or matrices, I think is how that's pronounced when it's plural. Teachers correct me. God knows I have terrible English. From there, the definition of food matrix. Okay, so how the physical and chemical properties of whole foods affect how our bodies break down and use the nutrients locked up inside of them. So what she's done, and the focus of her study, is to see how foods actually break down in our bodies and how their energy is actually released in our bodies. And as they get more processed, how that energy amount changes. Okay, it's super, like, I'm geeked out on it. I totally read like half of a research paper and I was listening to her podcast like 3 times. I had to listen to all of it. So it's really interesting because the structures of the foods that we eat, that is the forms in which we choose to have them. Okay, so that's the thing, affect the availability of the energy and nutrients from them. So for instance, she talks a lot about like nuts. So the difference between like having a raw whole nut to like a nut butter, big difference. Okay. Another one that she talks about or talked about and had in one of her research papers was about apples. And it compared the difference between eating a whole apple to a pureed apple to apple juice and what happens. And we're going to go through that here too. But it's just very, very interesting because like what she was saying with nuts, for instance, is the nutrition labels will read macros and calories. So the energy that the foods technically provide is what calories add up to. And so based on research done with them in a lab instead of in the body itself. So when you see the number of calories on a package, that's how much energy that food should provide you based on research in a lab, but not based on research inside of a human body. So there's a little bit of a difference there. So studies done on people eating, they always call them almonds in the podcast, but Jenna's here, so we're gonna say almonds. Okay. But when they were eating almonds, so it would show the difference in the label to the actual human bodies. And this study was done back in 2012. So they fed people different amounts of nuts and different processing of nuts, and then measured the energy content in their urine and fecal matter in order to see the comparison. And so almond labels or almond labels would read 170 calories. So 170 calories worth of energy per 28 gram serving. But in the body only actually utilized 129 of those calories. So what this actually means for you to help it make more sense is the more whole the food is, and it should be the same for foods across the board technically, but the more whole the food is, you can technically be eating higher calories, but your body won't actually absorb all of those calories. So it's about a quarter. So with these almonds, it's about a quarter fewer of the calories than what the label says. So that means that when we're eating more whole foods, our body is actually working harder in order to get the energy and the nutrients extracted from them, that we end up not utilizing all of those calories or soaking up all of those calories of energy. Instead, we're actually using about 3/4 of them, at least in this almond study. So when we eat whole foods like fruits, vegetables, grains, seeds, and nuts, our bodies have to work harder, like we were saying, to release those nutrients inside of them by breaking up their structures. So that's what it takes a little bit more. So the body is going to be working harder to get the nutrients, which is going to equal a slower energy release, which is going to keep you fuller longer, which is going to be a less of an insulin spike, which is going to be a better blood sugar control and therefore healthier gut function. Stair step that stuff, right? It makes sense. It makes a ton of sense. So the more processed the food is, the faster the body absorbs it. We already know that. You guys understand that. You know darn well at this point that your body absorbs white bread or a cookie a lot faster than it absorbs a sweet potato or broccoli. It makes sense. But now you understand the science behind it. The apple study that she referred to, so whole versus pureed versus juice. So they studied the same people and then did glucose levels on all of them after they had each different kind of apple. So all 3 of the blood glucoses rise to about the same amount after they had each type of apple, whether it be whole, pureed, or juice. But the glucose fell much faster after the juice, meaning a bigger crash, right? So the juice caused the biggest spike and the biggest crash, which makes sense because there's no fiber in the juice. And then when it was pureed, it dropped a little bit slower than the juice did because there's a little bit more fiber content to it. There's a little bit more work for the body to do to it. But then the slowest was with the whole apple. So very interesting stuff, but it does make sense. So your glucose is going to be in better control where we're having those fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, legumes, grains, all the things in the least processed form that we can. So like I was saying, that means less large spikes in blood sugar and therefore less crashes, less cravings, less gut health issues, all of those things. So why I tell you about these studies, the more whole foods are, the better your body will utilize and digest them. That's why we tend to notice when we eat more whole foods, we can take in much higher caloric amounts and see healthier results than just tracking macros in that if it fits your macros style. That's why I feel better. And I can tell you from a very personal experience that I feel better eating at this point. I'm eating like 600 more calories a day than I had been in forever, but I'm eating cleaner calories and my body is adapting to them much better and I feel better, right? That's why your body responds to the cleaner foods. With a side note, this does not mean that I want you to go and eat raw food or like raw meat. Okay. Still need to be cooking these things, use common sense. It also means that it's perfectly okay to cook like vegetables and stuff. You guys, you don't have to eat all raw vegetables or anything like that. What I am saying is cook with whole food ingredients, right? So if you want to cook your vegetables, cook it in olive oil, right? And if you want to cook your meats, cook them in some olive oil. Use some other whole food ingredients in there instead of pouring a whole bunch of vegetable oil on top of it. That's going to help you more. So use some of that common sense. And when you're cooking things, making recipes, use more of the whole ingredients to make them, but the less processed options you can take in, the better. That's what I want the main takeaway to be. Looking at ingredient labels, understanding to remove as many of those process options as possible. That is what clean eating is. And that's how you're going to actually ultimately feel better and see better results over time. So hopefully that wasn't too much. I realized when I reached page 7 of my notes that it was maybe a little extravagant, but hopefully you guys had a good takeaway in there. But let me know, do you guys have any questions on anything at all based on this or anything else?
I was
Awesome.
just gonna say it's amazing also how much more food you get when you clean things up. Like if you have ever had any sort of like, oh, I'm hungry at this time, I'm hungry at this time, like you clean it up and you get so much more food to consume, but you also don't have that like gut feeling of like, yeah, you consumed a lot of food, but like you said, like your body digested better, so you don't feel like heavy and like bloated and I don't know, all the food.
Oh,
So
oh yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. Okay. Like, so key takeaway, you all know I love like peanut butter filled pretzels. Like I flipping love peanut butter filled pretzels. I have 5 per night. 5. That is my processed snacky snack. I feel like crap for about 15 minutes every time after I eat them, but I won't stop because I love them so dang much. But that is the one thing that I like give myself on a regular basis because it satisfies the craving for it without me going overboard and eating like all of them on a Saturday night, you know? So, but I will say that my gut immediately reacts to it differently than it does everything else that I eat throughout the day. So really take some time, you guys. Clean up some of these ingredients, even keep like a food log. You don't have to like write all of your food into a journal, but even just typing in your phone, like date and meal time and how you feel after you ate different things can really help to identify which things don't settle well with you, which things we should probably swap out that will help you feel a little bit better. So awesome. I'm glad you guys are loving this topic so much. I thought it was super interesting as well. Beautiful. This one's going to be full of fun stuff. All right, cool guys. Well, if you have anything else or think of something that you want to ask after we hang up, feel free to shoot me a message. I'll probably get back to you in the morning. But aside from that, love you all. Have a wonderful evening and I will talk to you later. Bye guys.